I can barely fit in here because of all these books. Hi, welcome to my channel. Today we're going to go through my entire physical TBR. I feel like I'm doing this mainly to hold myself accountable. I have way too many books on my TBR that I just do not even want to read. I want to make this video and then come back to it in like a year or something and see if I've managed to read any of these books, and if not, I'm just gonna get rid of them because I've had some of these books on my physical TBR for like 2 to 3 years. Like almost none of these are recent purchases, so that's kind of concerning. I feel like I've outgrown a lot of these. A lot of these I purchased when I was getting back into reading, and my taste has just changed a lot since then, and I feel like I know what I like now, and I know that I might not necessarily like a lot of these. But anyway, I've like loosely divided these into genre. I don't know the genre of some of them, but I've tried my best. So we're gonna go through these pretty quickly. I think they're at around 60, maybe 70. I'm hoping not more than 70. Let's see. Okay, I'll start out with some fantasy series I own. Firstly, I have the All the Stars and Teeth duology. So this is All the Stars and Teeth and All the Tides of Fate. This first book might be the book that has been on my TBR for the longest. I think it has been genuinely almost like around 3 years. So that's concerning. What's more concerning is about a year ago, I thought, I should buy the second book. I still don't know why I did this. I just think, I mean, firstly, I like the covers. I think they're cute. I like the colors. Like, I think they look nice. Dreadful. I think these are like mermaid type books. So this sounds like it's about mermaids, pirates, soul magic. I do not even know. These sound good. They sound interesting. I actually do want to read them at some point. Carrying on, I also have the Daughter of Smoke and Bone trilogy. I have all 3 books. I don't know why. I heard really good things about these and I just bought them. I didn't know what they're about. I still don't know what they're about. I actually read like 10% of the first book and I just couldn't get into it. I think they sounded like they kind of had like Mortal Instruments vibes with like human world and then like some kind of monster realm or something. But yeah, I have all 3 books. So I'll give them a go at some point. I then have the second and third book in the Divergent series. So I have Insurgent and Allegiant. I really like the first book actually. I think it's good. I think it's a little goofy and like the plot holes that Divergent has is insane. But I like them. So I need to read these 2 at some point. I then have 2 books which I'm genuinely considering getting rid of. I have Siege and Storm and Ruin and Rising. I think the first Shadow and Bone book was like the 3rd book I read when I was getting back into reading, and I did not love it then, and I know that I would not love this series now. My taste has changed so much. I actually read 20% of this book once. I couldn't get further than that. I thought that's fine, and then about 6 months later I tried again. I got 50% through this book and I gave up again. Like I just cannot focus on these books. I cannot get my brain to enjoy them. So I'm not sure I'm ever going to read these. I also don't love Metallic Spines, which I know is a little picky, but I just don't love how these look on my bookshelf either. And then lastly, in like the series I have book 2, 3, 4, and 5 in the Maze Runner series. Ugh, these are in the wrong order. There we go. In the Maze Runner series. So we have the Scorched Trials, the Death Cure, the Kill Order, and the Fever Code. Again, I read the first book when I was just getting back into reading, and I love the movies so much. I love the movies so much that I thought I would love the books. And I just didn't love the first book. I would just much rather watch the movies, but I've kept these all. I also, again, I don't like the spines. I don't like when a series has every book a different neon color. Like I don't know what that's about. It's off-putting. So again, I actually might get rid of these, but I'm gonna keep them for now and just see if I make any progress with them. Okay, going into the rest of my fantasy, I have this huge book, The Priory of the Orange Tree. I love this. I love this book. I love this cover. I love fantasy. I love dragons. I don't know why I can't read this book. It's big. It's like 800 pages. The thing is, I've read books bigger than this and thicker than this, and it's not been an issue. Like I haven't really blinked at it. I don't know why this one, I think it's just because this one I own physically and I can physically see how huge it is. So I'm just a bit put off by it. I really want to read this. Maybe 2024 will be the year of me finally tackling this book after like 2 years. I then have Cemetery Boys. I bought this because I liked the cover. I know nothing about it. I think this is about someone like raising some kind of ghost from the dead. I honestly have no idea. But I've also just never heard a bad thing about this book. It was very popular, I think, when it came out. Everyone really liked it, so I'll read it at some point. It's also a pretty skinny book, so I don't think it would be a difficult read. I then have The House in the Cerulean Sea. This is about like an orphanage with like magical children, like children with abilities, I think. It says on the back, one of the kids is the Antichrist, so this sounds fun. I don't know why I've never picked this up, but I love it. But yeah, I feel like I should read this at some point. I then have The Poppy War. I actually read about 50% of this and DNF'd it, but that was just because I was in a massive reading slump. I still have my bookmark from when I was reading it, so I think I'll try to get back into this at some point soon, but I think I'll have to start it from the beginning because it has been probably close to a year since I started it. Next, I have a book I pre-ordered. This is one of 2 new purchases. I think there are only 2 new purchases on this list. A Curse for True Love. I pre-ordered this, it came out, everyone started giving their reviews saying that it was disappointing, and I have been way too scared to read it. I also kind of need to reread the first 2 books in this series before I give it a go because I've honestly forgotten everything. But I love these books. I love the Waterstones covers. I think they're like probably the most beautiful books I own, so even if I hate it, this will never leave my bookshelf. Then I have Crooked Kingdom. This is on my list to read very soon. I read Six of Crows last year and I enjoyed it. I gave it like a 4 stars. I enjoyed it. I just didn't feel the need to like jump straight into this book, but I feel like it might be time soon. I actually don't know if this one is even fantasy. I have the Atlas 6. I'm not sure what this is, but I have the old cover. And that is the reason I purchased it, because I wanted the old cover. I didn't care what it was. I just bought it, and that is so silly. From what I know, this is like a dark academia book with fantasy elements. I could be wrong, but mine is so dusty. I do want to read this, but I think if I read it, I would need to read the actual published version because I know they make changes from this version to that version, so it's kind of a reason I've been putting it off. Next, I have The Gilded Wolves. I actually bought this because my friend was buying it and I liked the cover, and I thought, well, if she's having it, I need it, and I bought it. And why would I do that? This is about like a heist in France, I want to say. That could be so wrong. Where's the thing? Yeah, this is set in Paris. I'll read it at some point. I don't even know if this is a standalone or a series. I have no idea. Might be one of the dumbest purchases in this whole thing. I then have Dance of Thieves. I have tried to read this. Everyone loves this duology. So this is a duology with Dance of Thieves and then Vow of Thieves. I have wanted to read this so bad. I've tried like 3 times. I cannot get past the first chapter. I feel dumb. I feel like I don't know what's going on. Sometimes getting into fantasy worlds is like, it's just a challenge my brain cannot accept. So it just sits here, but I love the cover. I think it's so beautiful, and I will force myself to read this at some point. Maybe if I can find it on audiobook, that might help it like soak into my brain. But from what I know, this might be like a bit of like an enemies to lovers situation as well, and I think that would be something I'd really enjoy. I also have The Starless Sea. This is another book I've had for quite a while. Everyone says nothing really happens in this book. It's just vibes. And I realized relatively quickly after buying this that I am more of a plot person than a vibes person. Like, I need plot to keep me going. I need like things to be happening, which is why I haven't picked this up. But again, I love this book. I think it's so beautiful, so I just don't think I could get rid of it. I then have my other recent purchase, which was Iron Flame. This came out and I saw like 1 person give it a disappointing review, but then I found it for half price, so I still purchased it. I still bought it. And then I saw about 100 people give this a bad review, so I still haven't read it. It's so massive. I don't understand how it's this big. I don't know what could possibly happen in this book to make it. I think it's like 600 pages. Honestly, what is going on? But I loved Fourth Wing, and I feel like I need to give it a go. And the last fantasy book I have is The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue. I have had this for so long. I got the really pretty like Waterstones edition. From what I know, this is about a girl who makes a deal with like some type of devil person, I have no idea, where she stays alive forever but no one can ever remember who she is. And that sounds kind of depressing to read about. I'm sure it'd be super fun. It definitely sounds super interesting, but I've also seen people say it's quite boring and not much happens. So again, I have put it off. Okay, moving on to my one sci-fi book, Ready Player One. This again was one of the first books I purchased when I got back into reading. I love the movie, so I bought the book thinking I would love the book. I tried to read it and realized I've seen the movie, why would I want to read the book? So I just own this now. It just sits here and that's fine. I'm trying to like forget the movie. I'm trying to actively get the movie out of my brain so I can read this with like a fresher brain. It's not working though. Okay, onto like thrillers, mysteries, anything that could be within that category I just shoved into one. The first two are really random, I'll just say them quickly, is The Jigsaw Man and The Girl Upstairs. I just bought these on Amazon, they were like £2 each, and I was on holiday and just needed something quick to read, bought them and didn't want to read, so I own these. The Jigsaw Man is about like catching a serial killer, and The Girl Upstairs is about the girl upstairs going missing. Very classic thriller tropes, I feel. I then have The Girl on the Train. I got this from a charity shop for £1 and I feel like this is a classic. I feel like everyone needs to read this, and somehow, even though this book has been out for so many years, I have no idea what it's about, no idea what happens. It's never been spoiled for me. All I know is that it is about a girl on a train, so it could be anything. I then have, I think, Alice Feeney's newest release, Daisy Darker. This apparently is about Daisy going to her grandma's house and then a murder happens. Again, seems like a very standard sort of thriller trope. I'm sure I'll like it. I tend to like thrillers, so. I then have Ace of Spades. I bought this years ago, not knowing what this was. I just really liked the cover and I did not know that it was a thriller. I'm still not sure it's a thriller, but it does say a compelling thriller on the back. So I'm gonna say probably. And it says on the back it has strong Gossip Girl vibes, which I feel like is probably why I purchased it to begin with. I do want to read this at some point. Now I know it's a thriller because that intrigues me a lot more. Another random purchase, The Split. I think I just got this from the works for like £1. And I think this is about like a woman escaping from like her husband, ex-boyfriend, something along those lines. It sounds interesting. I definitely will get to this at some point. I also have Richard Osman's Thursday Murder Club. I feel like if you're in England, this book is everywhere. There's like 3 or 4 books in this series now. I bought it when it first came out. I actually bought this because my nan was reading it and she told me it was good and she told me to pick it up and buy it. So I bought it, and then when she finished the book, she said, don't waste your time. So honestly, I was led astray by my nan, and now I just own this book, so that's great. This is about like a bunch of senior citizens in like a nursing home trying to solve a murder, I'm pretty sure. So like it sounds interesting. I think I'd enjoy it. It's just not top of my list right now. I have The Maid. This I bought because I liked the cover. This is such a common theme. I just really liked this color, green. So I bought this. This is about a woman working as a maid in a hotel. She finds a guest dead. Honestly, anything could happen. I do want to read this at some point, but I've heard very mixed reviews. I'm not sure if you'd honestly even class this as a thriller, but I know this is about like a bunch of university students. I think they're doing like Shakespeare or something, and one of them is found dead, so it kind of gives maybe mystery vibes. My friend got me this for Christmas, I think, or my birthday, I'm not sure. This was a gift and I love it. This is probably the most beautiful book I own, so I don't care if I never read this. This is just a treat to have on my shelf. Okay, I then have 3 books which honestly I'm not sure what they are. I think they could be horror, they could be thriller, they could be fantasy, but I thought let's just deal with these now. So I have Alice. I got this from Waterstones. I've never seen a single person read this, talk about it. I've never seen it anywhere. I was just going through a massive Alice in Wonderland phase and reading retellings, and I found this. So this is like a retelling where like it takes place in, I think, like a psychiatric hospital. It sounds like a really dark retelling of Alice in Wonderland, and I actually really want to read this. So I'm definitely gonna put this higher up on my list. I have Fear Street by R.L. Stine. This is just like a little collection, I think, of a few of his stories, and I've never read them. So I bought this thinking this would be fun, and then I never touched it. This is from Waterstones. Honestly, anytime I go into Waterstones and buy a book, I never read that book. I've stopped going because I just buy books on a whim because I'm there and I get like sucked into like the atmosphere and I want to buy a book, and it's never a good choice. And then lastly, I have my only Stephen King book. This is Fairy Tale. This might be a fantasy, I'm not sure. He's obviously a horror writer, but I know not every book is a horror. This is about a boy that like I think goes through some sort of like portal into like another realm. It's massive. I bought this because of the cover. I'm honestly gonna scream at myself. Again, was a Waterstones purchase. I got this for half price, which is why I bought it. I bought it because it was half price, and that is a terrible reason to buy a book. So now I own it. I love it though. I think it's so beautiful. Okay, moving on, we have romances. I have an absolute OG BookTok book, The Hating Game. Everyone knows what this is about. This is like a workplace, enemies to lovers. I'll read it at some point. And then have Beautiful World, Where Are You? This was also a gift. And I've never got around to reading it because I've just seen such bad reviews about this, and I love Sally Rooney. I'm just scared to read this one in case I don't enjoy it. I love Normal People so much, and the thought of not enjoying a Sally Rooney book is like devastating to me. So I do put this off. I have The Soulmate Equation by Christina Lauren. I read The Unhoneymooners last year and it traumatized me from ever reading a Christina Lauren book again. This one might get unhauled if I don't read it in 2024. I then have two books in the same series. I have Set on You and X's and O's. I think these are like interconnected standalone. So the first one is about like a fitness influencer, and the second one is a girl who goes back and revisits her ex-boyfriends and tries to have like a second chance romance. I have Every Summer After by Carly Fortune. I've heard that the third act conflict in this like is so bad that I just cannot bring myself to read this book, but I want to. I know I'll like it. I just am not sure I can cope with a bad third act conflict. I have two Emily Henry books. I have You and Me on Vacation and Beach Read. I've read Book Lovers. I give it 5 stars. I loved it so much. I've tried to read both of these books and I've not got past like the 20% mark in either of them. So maybe she was a bit of like a one-hit wonder for me personally, but I want to give these another go before I get rid of them. I have All the Bright Places. I have been putting this off because I know what happens in this book. I knew it was sad when I bought it, but then I saw a spoiler and I just do not want to deal with this. This is about two people who are dealing with like depression and really struggling. I think they're like teenagers in high school, and they form a romance, and I don't think I could put myself through this book. I have The Flat Share. I feel like this is another like OG BookTok book. This is about like two people who are like sharing a flat. Like one is like works in the day and one works at nighttime, I believe, and they just share this little 1-bedroom flat. Obviously they have a romance. Another beautiful book, I have Magnolia Parks. I bought this again because of the cover. I love the covers so much, and now they've changed them, so it doesn't even matter that I really own this one. I tried to read this. I got maybe like 100 pages in and I just was struggling with it, but I genuinely feel like if I give this another chance, I will like it, I will enjoy it. Like, I want to love this series so much. I see everyone love this series and I want to love this series. Next, I have Terms and Conditions by Lauren Asher. I read the fine print and I loved it so much that I went out the next day and I bought this book and I came back with it and I never touched it. I never read it, and I don't know why I did that. So this is a trilogy and each book follows a different brother, and they each have like conditions they need to meet to get their inheritance. So the first one has to do something with the business, and I think this one needs to get married, I'm pretty sure. So he ends up like marrying his receptionist or assistant or something like that. It sounds really good, I've just never gotten around to it. I have another Olivia Blake book. I have Alone with You in the Ether. Again, I bought this because it has the old cover and I liked it and I wanted to own it, so I bought it. I don't know anything about this. It says it's a love story on the front, so I'm guessing it's a romance. Another OG BookTok book, I have Get a Life, Chloe Brown. This is a part of the Brown Sisters trilogy. I think this is the first one. I have no reason for not getting around to this one yet. I just buy more romances than I read. And my last two romances are both Lucy Score. I have Things We Never Got Over and Maggie Moves On. This one is part of like the really popular trilogy that everyone loves. I think the third book just came out recently. I didn't buy this one too long ago, so I am pretty excited to get to it still. And then after I bought that one, I also bought Maggie Moves On. Just in case, you know, just to have two of them. Okay, then we have like contemporary books, fiction, general fiction. Again, another kind of selection where I'm not too sure what these are. I have The Virgin Suicides. This honestly might be considered more like historical fiction. This is about 5 sisters, I believe, that all kill themselves, and you're sort of going through why they decided to do it. You're honestly gonna get irritated with me. I bought this because I liked the cover. This is why I buy so many books. But it just seems a bit depressing to read. I then have Earthlings. I saw like one person talk about this, immediately ran to get it, and then just did not read it. I don't know what's wrong with me, honestly. This is so teeny tiny and short, and I really want to read it. I don't know anything what it's about. I think this is about a girl that believes she's like an alien or something. I honestly don't know how that even happens, but this sounds really good. Again, this one I haven't owned for too long, so I'm still excited to read it. I then have two Taylor Jenkins Reid books. I have Malibu Rising and Carrie Soto is Back. I read The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo in 2022 and Daisy Jones and the Six in 2023, so I guess I need to do one of these this year. And then last category, we have Greek mythology. Okay, I'll run through these super quickly. I have Pandora's Jar. I bought this, I didn't realize it was non-fiction. This is Greek myths based on women, like the women in the myths, which sounds super good and super interesting. I just don't tend to read non-fiction. I have two books by Jennifer Saint. I have Electra and Ariadne. I really love these covers, which is why I bought them. I then have The Wolf Den. I'm actually not sure this is Greek mythology. I think it's mythology of some kind. But it says if you love Circe, you'll love this book. And I love Circe. So I bought this from Waterstones. Oh my god, I just liked the cover. I have Stone Blind by Natalie Haynes. This is a story based on Medusa. I have Law. I've owned this for maybe 3 years as well. This is one that I need to either read or get rid of. And then lastly, I have the last two books in the Heroes of Olympus series. So there is House of Hades and The Blood of Olympus. I am struggling through this series. I don't think it's anywhere near as good as the original Percy Jackson series. For me personally, I just don't click with a lot of the characters and a lot of the point of views, but I will get to these at some point. Okay, let me count how many books that was. I don't think it was as many as I thought it was going to be. Okay, it ended up being 66 books, which I'm glad it wasn't more than 70. However, that is still so many books. I have no reason to own that many books. My reading goal for this year is 65 books. So if I can read a good chunk of these, I will be very, very happy. Thanks so much for watching. See you next time.